to Straight Talking. Thank you for joining us. And today we're discussing our veterans. Are we doing enough to look after our veterans? Should our government be doing more? And I'm joined by two gentlemen, Colin and Simon. Thank you for joining me, who are from Forward Assist. Now, we're going to get on to what the charity does shortly, but just before the break, we were just really discussing the impact that being in combat has on your mental health, and the fact that there's a certain sense of banter and we're all manly and we'll just make jokes about it. Do you think part of the problem is that you're not talking about it enough and your feelings? I know that sounds like a girly question, but
yeah, no, it is a true question, and I guess that's what our charity does confront, and that's really just that peer being together with the veterans in a group, and just discussing these issues together.
Do you discuss them when you're in it? When you're in it, Colin, do you discuss them, or do you, if you're stressed by something, or do you just get on with it?
Just get on with it.
Right.
It's a man thing, isn't it? But also it's a sign of weakness, or a perceived sign of weakness. I don't serve now, so I wouldn't say it's a sign of weakness. I would say you're better off putting your cards on the table and seeking help from the experts.
I heard somebody who had been in the military in the 80s, and they were saying, oh, this didn't exist when we were in the military. Nobody had this stress thing. And I thought, no, it did. Nobody talked about it.
No one talked about it. And when you talk about the 80s, there was still guys serving in Northern Ireland with the mates getting blown up, etc., etc. So, it did exist, and it did happen. And we're seeing guys. In fact, one of the guys that works with us served in Aden in 1967, and only a few years ago had post-traumatic stress disorder diagnosed from 1967, and it was only once he had time on his hands. Unfortunately, he'd had a stroke, was finished work, and then had the time on his hands, and he started to reflect back, and he had really bad depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, caused from 1967, and they say that it takes can take 10 to 15 years to manifest. So I would say that Britain's sitting on a bit of a ticking time bomb.
And you guys are here to help. So in terms of practically what Forward Assist does, how does somebody who's suffering, who's alone, and in this situation which we've just been describing, how do they come to you, and what happens practically once they make that first step?
Well, there's various routes that people can get in touch with the organisation through our website, etc., and self-refer. We do have lots of links in the third sector, and people are referred through that route.
What does that mean, the third sector?
The charity sector.
Yeah, the charity sector.
Once the veterans get in contact, we really like to be hands-on. So part of the reason why young men and women join the military is for their sporting adventure activities. They're quite physically fit people, and that's one of the hooks that the military give you. A week, mountain biking or scuba diving or whatever it could be. So we really try to touch on that, and that's my role in the organisation, and getting everyone out, and if it's rock climbing or out climbing in Wales, it's really fresh air therapy, and that really is the pathway to getting healthier.
And in terms of you mentioned women there. In terms of the ratio of men and women that come to you,
very few women.
Why?
We don't know. Since we've been set up, and we've really tried to make inroads into getting women as well as men involved with the organisation, but they don't see. They must deal with it in a different way.
Is it because they're not on the front line?
That's a real misnomer, because there's women medics on the front line, there's women drivers on the front line. There is there is women serving on the front line.
I'm glad we've cleared that up.
Yeah. It's not like the old days in World War One where you got the trenches now, you know, like the IEDs are hitting really close to home. So, you know, some of the women would have
Are we
seen-
talking about it more?
And well, that's going back to your original question, and I think it's society recognising mental health in general, and I think that's letting people allowing to talk about some of their issues.
But women, do you think the women are talking about it more than the men?
Maybe
Probably
better communicators and talkers, and maybe that's with their peers.
That's
or
not sexist. We'll let you off. We do spend longer on the phone. It's true. We can gossip.
Yeah.
We can. But it is an interesting split there. But in terms of once they've come to you, if they did have real, mental health issues, so how would you steer them?
a lot of people go on about signposting people to relevant organisations. We think that signposting is one of the worst things you can do, because what you've got to do is make sure people turn up for that first appointment. Hardest part, I used to work in a drug and alcohol agency, the hardest part for anyone was putting their foot over that threshold and admitting they've got a problem. So as an organisation, what we do is provide a refer and chaperone.
Right, that's interesting. So you will go with them and make sure that serviceman gets
the first couple of appointments. We will buddy them up with one of the guys, or myself, Simon, Neil, Steve would take the person and go with them to that first appointment to make sure that they do try and accept that help.
So from there, the aim is obviously to get them better, whether it be problems with alcohol or their mental health. And then our forward assist, trying to get them back into employment and into civilian life.
Yeah, and really engaging. So a part of what else we do is we we train up these veterans, whoever they might be, and whatever they're interested in, hopefully along that sport activity, cultural side, whether that's art or football or whatever they're interested in, get them called up, whether it's coaching or leading climbing, and then really give back to the community. So to give back to youngsters, probably with disadvantaged backgrounds or whatever it is, so they've got a purpose then, and it's really getting out of bed, getting them out that door is the hook. That's
Rebuilding
really
their self-esteem.
Do you think for a lot of them, because of when they've been serving, they've obviously A, seen horrific things, and B, every day their life is on the line and national security is on the line, and that's what they're fighting for, and for their colleagues' lives, that when they come back here, it just doesn't seem important. So, paying your bills on time, getting to work, it just doesn't seem important.
That's a real struggle with transition. For most of the guys, if they've lived in a barrack block, all the bills have been paid for. Don't have to worry about
Food.
that. Never thought that you have to pay a gas bill, electric bill, council tax. What's that?
It's a pain.
They've already paid the rent for the room and all that sort of thing. So your
monthly wage is really like
beer tokens.
Yeah, beer tokens, and maybe book a holiday. Meet a girl, take her out. It's just splashing out that money, really.
But then, when you come back into the real world and you have to pay your bills, and that really is part of the struggle with transition from military to civilian life.
So for you, Colin, did you struggle?
I had. You have this bit of a loss of identity. I didn't struggle that much. I had a bossy wife, and she made me apply for jobs that I wouldn't necessarily have thought about. I've got the transferable skills to do that, etc., etc. But no, I didn't have. Although there's always that loss of identity.
Do you think because you had that relationship and that bit of grounding that helped?
Oh, without a doubt. Not even a young guy, a guy getting out who hasn't got that sort of relationship, etc. It's quite easy You know, I left home when I was 16 and joined the army, and I was coming home to the northeast. Is it my home? You know, I lived here till I was 16, and then I used to just come and visit.
So it never
my
felt
family.
like your home?
It's not really a home. You know, the military for essentially, including my boy service, for 24 years I was in the military, travelling around Germany, various places. And I still Geordies are very, very much a home bird, aren't they? And
Yeah.
you want to come home at the end of the day, but is it really a home when you haven't lived here as an adult?
And do you think for a lot of servicemen they haven't got that base? I mean, you did have that base, but they just don't have that home base.
Yeah, massively. It's like a semi-transient lifestyle, really. So you're based all around the world. It's great for many parts. You know, you get to see lots of places that most people wouldn't have seen, whether that's dangerous places or beautiful places, or jungle training or Arctic warfare, whatever it may be. But yeah, you're not really fixed to a certain place. So yeah.
And you guys can help people to get the sense of identity back and a grounding.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the guys don't understand the transferable skills that they've got from being in the military. You know, yes, there isn't much use for a warrior armoured personnel car driver.
Depends which road you're on, really, in the northeast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is transferable skills.
Yeah.
And we've got a guy, Neil Tully, who's another former Royal Engineer, and he does employability stuff with the guys. Neil was medically discharged in the past couple of years. He understands all the issues that the guys have had because he's went through them himself, the struggles, and we've funded through Walking with the Wounded for Neil's post for the next 3 years.
So there is hope. Guys, we could talk for so much longer, but sadly, we can't. We've only got a certain amount of time, but I hope you're going to come back as well. And we'll definitely put all of the details on the website, on the Twitter as well, at Made in Tyne-Wear. And if you want to drop us an email, it's straighttalking@madeintynanwear.tv. If you have any issues, if you've been affected by any of the issues that the guys have been talking about, then definitely get in contact and we will put you through to Forward Assist. Thank you so much to my guests, to Colin and to Simon. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you to you at home watching.